Okay, everyone, it's me and Stuffs His Face Leo, or Found with Other Person's Sandwich Leo, whatever you choose to call him. I get this is not a video that belongs in any of the other videos. It's not a series or anything, and I haven't done this in forever. But Leo pointed out that Emeek is saying stuff again, and I kind of just skimmed over his recent stuff. I hadn't watched it, so let's go ahead and get into the segment he found of interest, which I kind of got to agree with.
Anything else I want to talk about? Somebody keeps talking about freedom this, freedom that. You know, I'm sick to death. I'm sick to death of this freedom bullshit that I'm hearing from these Android users. Yeah, but we got freedom. We got freedom. Yeah, Google's got freedom to pull apps off your phone if they find them malicious. Let me ask you.
You seem like you already want to say something.
Nothing in particular.
Because whenever you want to say something, just say it, and I'll pause it as you start talking.
Has Apple ever removed people's apps from their devices, even after they pulled them from the App Store, or found them malicious or whatever? I don't even know if they've ever found malicious apps on the App Store. No, they don't. Apple removes somebody's app from their device, people with trick balls. But Google does it.
Oddly enough, they actually have built into iOS the ability to do just that.
Well, yeah, but what he's snapping on there is the fact that Google's the only one that's done it. Personally, I find it more troublesome. I mean, we talked about this. It's not exactly right to pull it off of someone's device, and we frowned on that ourselves here. You know, we said it should be the end user's choice. However, you know, on Google, on the Apple side, if Steve Jobs sneezed at it funny, it's never going to even find its way onto the device unless you break it. So it's you know, but I'm waiting for him to say it.
More permissive about what gets onto its phone at all.
Yeah, but it's like we're going to start Eric back up here again. But I want you to keep one thing in mind. I'm not going to say who said it, and 50 bonus points to anybody who remembers who said this phrase. But those who are willing to trade liberty for security soon shall have neither. Keep that in mind, because that's actually something that relates very well to this topic.
Google would not have to resort to removing applications off people's devices if they had an approval process, would they? If you're going to stipulate that, yeah, now if you got an app that we really dislike, we can remove it from the App Store and we can remove it from your people's devices. Well, shit, man, we'll have an approval process then.
Don't they have an approval process? I mean, I know they got a much more lax one than Apple, but I know that they remove stuff from the market. They have done it in the past, and you do have to submit your stuff to the Android market in order for it to be included.
You submit yourself to the Android market, but the primary things Google's checking for is that the code's written properly and that it does what you say it does.
Yeah, but also for the same kind of thing that he's talking about largely malicious apps later on. And, you know, Google is actually checking for that kind of thing. So there is an approval process. And I know with these Android phones, if you do choose to behave that way, you can restrict yourself to the Android market.
Well, it's like, personally, I think this is, I mean, I said this when we covered this in the PC versus Mac stuff, everybody's learning the wrong lesson here. It's the wrong lesson here is if a screensaver wants access to something it should never have access to, don't install the screensaver, people.
Right.
I mean, Android's actually adding firewalls and antivirus to the App Store now, and I think it's a good thing. I think that's the road to go. If I'm the end user and I want to be an idiot, that's my choice. If I'm the end user and I don't want to be an idiot, that's my choice too. I don't need Big Brother to protect me. Again, trading liberty for security. Soon she'll have neither.
Because you got to okay it, right? Might as well make it official. That's what I'm saying. I mean, that's just bullshit right there. You can install what you want when you want. You know, you can install look at all the reports lately of viruses going around on Android, or malware, or malicious apps stealing information. on Android. I've already heard of bank applications being fraudulent and stuff, stealing people's information. If that's what comes along with freedom, or your so-called form of freedom, then I'll just stick to a dictatorship at Apple. Because
What's he talking about here?
I know that I haven't.
Well, what I was talking about, this is the fundamental difference in philosophies between Android and iOS. Android's philosophy is we're not going to put you in a box. You want liberty, then you're responsible for your own security. Apple's philosophy is we're Big Brother, just give us all your liberty and we'll make sure you're secure. It's personally, I think I agree with the person who said that that's not a fair trade, and at the end of the day, that trade doesn't give you what you traded. If you trade your liberty for security, you'll wind up with neither, and it really is what winds up happening. It is.
It's also interesting to note that Apple recently had a PDF exploit that was being used to jailbreak the thing, and Apple supposedly released a patch for it, but also the guy who made jailbreakme.com that was using this exploit recently released the source code. So
yeah. Well, no, but see that goes back to what I'm saying. It's you're trading all your liberties to Apple in exchange for security, and they're not providing security. They're not protecting you from this stuff. They're just blocking you. Here's the thing. If I'm not going to be absolutely protected, then I want control. I want to be the one making the shots. Because if you're making the shots on my behalf and you're not protecting me, which is what is the case at the end of the day with Apple, I'm sorry, it's not a fair trade. It's like if I'm still susceptible to attack and I'm under your thumb and I can't do anything about it myself because I'm under your thumb, it's a lose-lose for me. Again, that's my opinion, and that's why I'm firmly in the camp I am. Emeek here, on the other hand, goes, well, Steve Jobs is perfect, and Steve Jobs is protecting me, and when Steve Jobs isn't protecting me, refer to rule number 1, Steve Jobs is protecting me. I don't know about that whole. Steve Jobs didn't tell me about it. I don't see it.
Whatever. Gimmicky shit like that, okay? It really is a peace of mind, and I have all the freedom that I need. If Apple truly limited me in any way, I wouldn't use their platform. But what people are calling you don't have your freedom, it never
2 years for copy and paste, 3 years for multitasking.
I can do just about everything I want. I'm sure there's some apps that you can get that Apple won't approve, but if you want them, you can jailbreak your iPhone. There's all the freedom you want. No need for an Android either way.
An interesting note on that, and we'll talk about this more in PCV Mac. I may even talk about it with Bit tonight if he wants to. When Apple patched that quote-unquote PDF thing, they also broke the ability to do jailbreaking that way. So it's like, oh, you have the freedom to jailbreak until Apple breaks it. Until the next time they break it, and the next time, and the next time, and the next time. They can't make it against the terms of service, but they can release a patch that breaks it.
I'm looking at it.
Using your iPhone with Linux
but free
iPod, whatever.
Shh, that's blasphemy.
Freedom is relative. My version of freedom is being able to be on the subway and rent a movie from iTunes, or be on a trip and purchase Clash of the Titans movie, or podcasts, or ebooks, or audiobooks, or TV shows, or music.
You want to know why Leo's...
It ain't the only place, no, but it's the only...
You want to know why Leo's laughing at that? That's... iTunes free. I don't mean free as in dollar, I just mean free as in free. It doesn't work on certain computers. It doesn't work well on anything but an Apple computer. It has all these other issues. If the updated version of it doesn't run on your system, half the time you don't get a vote in it. Yeah, iTunes is real freeing. Let the firmware cuffs of freedom come for you. It's like, oh.
In addition, Android can do all that stuff too. Pretty much any competitive device can do.
Well, the real difference is what libraries you have access to. Although I would say largely because of the I'm not okay. I'm going to use the M word that's named after a Parker Brothers game. I'm not going to say it, but I'm going to use it. That iTunes has been exercising on this issue is actually more and more of the right holders, with the exception of government-run ones, are beginning to go, our stuff should be on Amazon. Our stuff should be in universally accessible markets, not the iWorld. I just hope the school system gets that before it's too late.
The only place that syncs up with all my iDevices that I can get anywhere, anytime, iTunes is freedom. Within itself, iTunes on a smartphone
you want
is
to
freedom
switch
because
away
I
from your
have all this
iDevices.
entertainment.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. Did he just use the fact that the iTunes locks you into the iDevice world as an argument that it's freedom?
I think he just did.
Oh.
You have no idea how hard it was to get away from my iPod. I'm finally not using it anymore. But man, that was a chore.
Oh, well, that's on purpose. Well, what do you mean you want to buy competitor stuff? People accuse Microsoft of being monopolistic and trying to lock you in and trying to force you to go the Microsoft way. Microsoft, Google, nobody's got anything on Apple. Apple leads the way in user abuse.
Well, to be fair, at least they did recently remove the DRM from most of their music.
Well, as much as I'd love to snap on Apple for that, that's not an Apple thing. That's old media refusing to embrace new technology. That's really more the copyright holders than Apple.
So that's what I mean. To their credit, at least there's that. That did make it so it was possible for me to...
It's interesting to note that they weren't the first to do it, of course.
Sure, there's Amazon, but it's not as fluid and it's not as easy as the Apple software is on iDevices. Being able to do this is freedom. Being able to shoot.
Okay, to that I have the following to say. Go on any Android device, load the Amazon app, which most of them load by default, by the way, and the entire Amazon collection will stream to your device for previews. Browse through just like any other Android thing. It looks just like the Android marketplace. It integrates seamlessly. So, I guess only iDevices don't have this fluidity with non-Apple marketplaces. Everybody else goes, everything should be fluid. I wonder what the issue is there. I get...
720p video and edit it with iMovie and actually get a decent movie. That is freedom. That's what matters to me. Not being able to install any single app without Apple's approval. I can give a shit about that. I care about what really matters, okay? So I think this freedom is just a big fucking, mostly an illusion for people to hang on to, and as an excuse to not get an iPhone. I want freedom. I mean, are your is that just principle? Is it just principle? Because let me tell you something about freedom. Before the iPhone came around, there was no freedom. Carriers controlled what went on the phone. Carriers controlled the software that went on the phone. They controlled the content that went on the phone. They controlled everything.
Freedom.
No
it's being
other
sent from one slave master to another.
Yeah, I think that states it best. Now, Emeek actually goes on for another few minutes, but I do not want to turn an what is Emeek saying video into more than one part, and we're coming up on time here, and YouTube's being real weird about that 15-minute thing. Sometimes you have to be shorter than 15 minutes to make it, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up. But yeah, that's the thing. And honestly, I guess he has, that's a semi-valid argument there, but like you say, from one slave master to another. Anyways, anything to say in the last 20 seconds, or just...